In today's video, we'll be diving deep into the upcoming weather pattern, focusing on a powerful coastal storm system tracking along the East Coast. This system is expected to bring intense winds, surprisingly strong gusts. In fact, along with heavy rainfall to several regions. We'll analyze this storm using both major weather models, the European and the GFS. Now, the GFS model has gone a little wild in its latest run. It actually depicts a major northeastern snowstorm. However, I strongly advise not to take that scenario too seriously, as it's a significant outlier and highly unlikely to unfold that way. What it does show, though, is the extent of cold air potential, and that helps put things into perspective. Speaking of cold air, I don't expect a sustained, long-term Arctic outbreak across the east. Instead, we'll likely experience intermittent cooldowns alternating with mild spells. What's important to note is that the upper temperature range, the ceiling of the warm-ups, will gradually lower, meaning even the milder phases will feel much more autumn-like than what we've seen recently. Temperatures will trend closer to seasonal norms, which is good news for those eager for a more typical fall feel. Let's begin by looking at the European model, focusing mainly on that developing coastal low. As of this evening, we already see some activity forming across the Four Corners region and into the southeast, where the initial low is beginning to organize. We're currently under a minor ridge in the west and a trough in the east, creating slightly cooler conditions today. By Friday, October 10th, this coastal disturbance starts to gain momentum, with Florida, Georgia, and South Carolina seeing increasing rainfall. There isn't a defined low yet, but the system is gathering strength. Meanwhile, across the Northwest, Rockies, and Four Corners, we're seeing widespread showers and heavy rain, which will continue into Friday evening. By Saturday, October 11th. The system finally begins to organize into a defined low-pressure center, spreading rain across South Carolina, North Carolina, and Virginia. Out west, multiple weak lows emerge and higher elevations begin receiving snow, signaling the start of early-season wintry activity. Moving into Sunday, October 12th, the storm becomes more significant, with pressures dropping to around 996 millibars. Heavy rain stretches across the mid-Atlantic and southeast, though the system now appears slightly farther offshore, 50 miles east compared to earlier model runs. This adjustment is mainly from the European model, as the GFS remains consistent. Out west, the northern Rockies continue to see snow, while a stronger low north of North Dakota influences much of the broader pattern. The Four Corners region begins to experience more tropical-style downpours, and the leading edge of a drier cold front takes shape behind the system. Warmer air surges into the central U.S., while deep cold filters into the Rockies, continuing the mountain snowfall. By Monday, cooler air follows behind the departing low, though not an Arctic blast, just a modest temperature drop. The low edges closer to the coast again, bringing renewed heavy rainfall and gusty winds for the mid-Atlantic and southern New England as we progress through Tuesday. October 14th, lingering showers remain in the west, with central California seeing heavier precipitation and snowfall in the Sierra Nevada. Scattered showers and thunderstorms pop up across the northern plains and upper Midwest by Thursday. October 16th, a new low-pressure center emerges over South Dakota and Nebraska, with a distinct warm front and precipitation band setting up. Snow continues in the northern Rockies and Sierra Nevada, while a secondary low over California maintains unsettled conditions there. Heading into Friday, that plains low races northeastward into Wisconsin, while a new, stronger system develops across eastern Wyoming, bringing another round of Rocky Mountain snow, though this one appears less dynamic. Finally, by Saturday, October 18th, activity persists across the northwest and north-central U.S., While the eastern U.S. ridge reestablishes itself, energy begins to flow northward from the Gulf of Mexico, setting the stage for yet another potential system in the days ahead. So, the overall flow pattern you can visualize here is generally northward, allowing that warmer air to surge farther north. This is why much of the precipitation and storm activity is being drawn onshore. Conversely, across the west, the southerly flow is driving cold air and snowfall deeper into the mountain ranges, extending the wintry conditions farther south than usual. Looking ahead to Sunday, the 19th, several dynamic features emerge simultaneously. The Pacific Northwest continues to experience persistent rainfall, with heavier showers and even mountain snow at higher elevations. The Rockies once again see a mix of rain and snow, while scattered showers and light rain bands appear farther east, though by this stage they are fairly minor and localized. Keep in mind, this is now entering the extended forecast range. So, as always, take these projections with a grain of salt. By Monday afternoon, a weak low-pressure system develops over Illinois, featuring a nascent warm front and a faint cold front, adding a bit of dynamic structure to the setup. While this configuration increases precipitation chances, the main impact will be temperature fluctuations. Returning to the idea of flow, we can imagine an active air exchange pattern setting up across the region. And if you happen to hear a helicopter in the background, that's not part of the storm. It's just outside my window somewhere. The Northwest continues to experience steady rainfall, and the northern Rockies remain under occasional snow showers. By Tuesday, the 21st, new activity emerges across the mid-Atlantic and Northeast, regions that genuinely need rainfall, so this would be a welcome development. If another organized system forms across this corridor by mid to late October, it could bring beneficial precipitation to drought-affected areas. Interestingly, by this point, the jet stream transitions into a more zonal or transient pattern, flowing almost purely west-to-east with minimal ridges or troughs, indicating a calmer, flatter flow overall by Wednesday the 22nd. Scattered showers extend across the south-central and north-central states, while light snow continues in the Rockies. Then, by Thursday, the 23rd, the models hint at a developing system across the central U.S., featuring heavier rainfall and possibly thunderstorms, especially over the south-central region. The Pacific Northwest also begins to see another wave of moisture pushing inland by Friday. The 24th, that developing low deepens slightly, reinforcing earlier expectations of a more active precipitation pattern. Even if the pressure itself doesn't suggest a strong system, and this brings me back to a saying I often repeat, a strong low doesn't always mean strong impacts, and a weak low doesn't always mean weak impacts. In this case, we're seeing greater effects than the central pressure alone would imply, which is quite common in complex atmospheric setups. Meanwhile, additional low pressure forms over the Northwest, bringing persistent heavy rain and continued mountain snowfall, a theme that's been consistent for many days now. Switching over to the GFS model for a comparison, we see a significantly different evolution. On Saturday the 11th, it depicts a low forming offshore of the southeast. It's much closer to the coast than the European model showed. Consequently, rainfall is heavier and more widespread across the Carolinas and the mid-Atlantic. By Saturday night, this GFS low positions itself at 994 millibars near the Outer Banks, which would result in stronger winds and rainfall reaching farther inland, a stark contrast to the European solution, which keeps the system roughly 100 to 200 miles farther east. By Sunday, the 12th, the GFS shows the low tracking directly across the Delmarva Peninsula, holding steady near 996 millibars, a bit stronger and noticeably closer to shore. Out west, it paints a more dynamic picture, with two powerful lows and intense snowfall in the mountains, far more aggressive than what the European models suggested as we move forward. The GFS transitions into a quieter midweek pattern, but by Friday, the 17th, it once again depicts a prominent ridge over the west and a deep trough in the east, funneling much colder air into the eastern U.S. HOWEV rand. This is crucial once we go beyond the 7-day window.